Picking the right job or the right MOS in the Army is very crucial, and it's important to make sure you pick the right one. And there's a couple of tips I recommend considering when you're trying to make that decision. One of those is to make sure that the job you want to do is actually what that MOS is. Because sometimes you think that this MOS, this job in the Army, does this, when really it does this. And so you got to make sure you do some extensive research, because an example of that could be like a 68 whiskey. Some people may think that, oh, 68 whiskey, a combat medic, that's kind of essentially like I'm going to build some skills to be a nurse. Well, kind of, but it's more essentially like working in the ER, working in urgent care, because there is a dedicated MOS for being a nurse, which is a 68 Charlie. And there's other MOSs, other jobs in the Army that are kind of similar to that, where you think that it's this one thing because of the description, because of the name, but really it's something else. Someone told me about a computer repairer MOS type of thing where it had something like that in the title, and turns out they mostly just fix night vision goggles and don't really do a whole lot with computers. So you gotta make sure that the job you wanna do is exactly what it is you wanna do. The other thing is if you're gonna pick a combat MOS, you're gonna pick a job like infantry, to be a tanker, to be a scout, you gotta understand that that job is specifically to do that job in a combat environment, right? A conflict happens, war breaks out, we have these trained individuals that can do that job in a combat environment. But there is no combat going on, there's no wars going on, no conflicts, or there is a conflict going on, but your unit doesn't deploy to that conflict. Well then, that means that you're gonna be spending X amount of time just training, doing the trainings, that way you can do the job if you have to do the job, but not actually doing the job unless you actually deploy. And there are some individuals that get stuck in that situation where they join to be an 11 Bravo, and then they don't go to a conflict, or there is no conflict going on, and so they spend their entire Army career just training, going to the field, learning how to do that job, getting better at it, but never actually doing it in a combat environment. And for some individuals, not a big deal. Maybe you enjoy doing the training. Maybe you get some satisfaction out of that experience and doing that, then that's fine too. But if that's not you, and you specifically must do that job in a combat environment, you gotta understand those factors. So keep that in mind as well. Do your research. The job I wanna do, does it actually do this if I pick this MOS, or is that a different MOS? Especially like with the series, right? 11 being infantry, you have like 12 being engineers, and you gotta find that exact MOS that'll do the job that you want to do. Make sure you do that research. If you're picking a combat arms MOS, be aware if there is no conflict, you may not go, or maybe you may be stuck training for your entire Army career. But if you pick a support MOS, well, you're probably gonna get your job and do your job on a daily basis. So make sure you do some good research.